Hello, everyone, and welcome to It's a Miracle. I'm Richard Thomas.
And I'm Nia P. Have you ever been at a loss to explain a wondrous event that changed your life in a critical moment?
Something over which you had no control, where perhaps some other force was at work.
Could it have been a miracle? Well, that's just the question the people in our first story asked. Have you ever been at a loss to explain a wondrous event that changed your life in a critical moment? Something over which you had no control, where perhaps some other force was at work? That's exactly what happened to a mother and 3 children on a trip they took to Newport Beach, California. Could it have been a miracle? You decide. We return now to one of the first stories presented on It's a Miracle. It represents the very essence of what this series is about, and it touched many of our viewers because it's the kind of miracle that can happen to any of us if we're willing to open our hearts. It's about the power of love and how it can triumph over impossible odds, and it starts with a tragic and shocking discovery. As a result of our earlier broadcast of this story, Dee Polly came to the attention of Lucent Technologies. They presented Dee with a $2,500 scholarship and a pledge to keep helping him with his education as long as he maintains good grades. Dee is currently a freshman at Valley College in Van Nuys, California, and we have no doubt that he will be a great success. Stay with us for more true stories on It's a Miracle.
Join us again next week when we'll bring you more fascinating stories that defy belief.
See you next time on It's a Miracle.
And welcome to It's a Miracle. I'm Richard Thomas.
And I'm Nia P. The birth of a child is one of the great miracles of life. It's a time of joy and celebration.
But the loss of a child can be devastating. There may be no greater pain in life.
The people you are about to meet have suffered that pain twice. The first was during the birth of their daughter, Megan, when a chromosomal disorder took her life.
But her parents were assured that this was so rare that for it to happen again would be like lightning striking twice in the same place.
There's no question that technological miracles have saved the lives of many people in life-threatening situations. But technology can only go so far. The story you're about to see is real. The footage is real and it's intense. It's an amazing story of a man who defies the laws of science. Today, Murray Brown is yet to completely recover from his accident. He's left Las Vegas and moved to Southern California, where his rehabilitation continues. We'll be right back with more It's a Miracle. Have you ever been at a loss to explain a wondrous event that changed your life in a critical moment? Something over which you had no control, where perhaps some other force was at work? That's exactly what happened to a mother and 3 children on a trip they took to Newport Beach, California. Could it have been a miracle? You decide. The mother and all 3 girls are alive and doing just fine today. They claim that what happened at the Wedge was more than just coincidence. It was definitely a miracle. We'll be right back. People who have experienced miraculous events in their lives.
See you then on It's a Miracle.
Hello everyone and welcome to It's a Miracle. I'm Nia P.
And I'm Richard Thomas. If anyone ever needed a miracle, it was 2-year-old Teresa Johnson, whose sudden disappearance mobilized an entire community.
What you're about to see will startle you and make you think twice about the possibility of miracles. Los Angeles, California, America's 2nd largest city. To most people, it's a place of sunshine, movie stars, and the beach. It's also a place of earthquakes, fire, and floods. We don't often think of the natural dangers that occur in LA, especially when the danger looks like fun. But what about the man who first attempted to save the young boy? No one remembers seeing him after he escaped from the river. A reward was offered to him. He only had to appear. He never did. That's just one of the many mysteries that make up this miraculous story. Stay with us as It's a Miracle continues. People who believe in miracles claim their lives have been irrevocably changed for the better. Some are healed, others are rescued, and many lives are fulfilled, all because of one extraordinary event for which no rational explanation exists. Many times, it isn't just one mysterious event, it's a series of unexplained occurrences. That's what happened to this man when his Hawaiian vacation became a tragedy. There are many ancient sayings and legends in Hawaii. One that Hugh will always remember: never turn your back to the sea. Stay tuned for more It's a Miracle after this.
Welcome to It's a Miracle. I'm Richard Thomas.
And I'm Nia P. Every day in every part of the world, there are reports of people who claim to have experienced mysterious events that defy explanation. what many would call a miracle.
Whether it's a case of divine intervention, a message from beyond the grave, or contact with angelic beings, these experiences always seem to make a positive difference in someone's life.
During the next hour, you'll witness some of these incredible real-life stories and meet the actual people who live them. Their stories will astonish you and perhaps make you believe that miracles can happen.
First, an amazing story that shows just how powerful a miracle can be.
People who claim they've experienced a miracle are often the same people who've been caught in a terrifying situation with seemingly no way out. That's what happens in our next story, and what makes it even more terrifying is that it happens to a child. Whatever the explanation for the astounding events that saved Mark's life, one thing is certain. He is very happy to be alive today, enjoying life with his own young son, Randy. We'll be right back with more stories that defy belief when It's a Miracle continues. During the winter months, we're told about the dangers of walking on a frozen lake or pond. But no matter how many times we're told, there is that one moment when a life-saving decision outweighs everything we ever heard. That moment is about to happen to a South Jersey man. Let's see his decision. Anthony is the first person to admit that if he had to do it all over again, he'd have gone to get qualified rescue personnel. But something just drove him to the lake, something he can't explain. We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome. I'm Richard Thomas.
And I'm Nia P. Today, when you open a newspaper or when you turn on the television, all you seem to get is disaster, crime, and scandal. So where's all the good news?
Well, it's right here on It's a Miracle. Our stories are full of courage and hope, love and sacrifice.
Mixed in with a whole lot of mystery and unbelievable events.
And that pretty much sums up our first story.
We presented many stories on It's a Miracle that defy explanation. Real events that when you consider the odds of them actually happening, you think, that's not possible. Well, you're about to see one that will astonish you. The chances that this could have actually happened are phenomenal, and yet the story is true. The man who lived through it is convinced that it was a miracle, and I think that you'll be convinced too. It's a Miracle. We'll be right back with more stories that defy explanation. Stay with us. How tight is the bond of friendship? Can it extend beyond life? In our next story, we have two friends. When one died, the other experienced a miracle. Not once. Someone once said that a dog is man's best friend. Well, whoever said that must have met Philip Gonzalez's dog, Ginny. Ginny is part Schnauzer, part Siberian Husky, and part Angel. That's right, Angel. She may not have wings and a halo, but Ginny is still a heavenly creature with some miraculous abilities. At last count, Ginny has saved over 300 cats and kittens. A few still live with Philip and Ginny, but all the others have been successfully adopted out to new owners. We'll be right back. Hello there and welcome to It's a Miracle. I'm Nia P.
And I'm Richard Thomas. There are many definitions and interpretations of what a miracle is. It can be something as complicated and hard to explain as a supernatural event.
Or something as simple and down to earth as a gesture of kindness when it's least expected.
But one thing that all miracles have in common is that they change people's lives for the better.
Our first story contains elements of both the supernatural and the down to earth. It's about guardian angels. Do they actually exist? After Steve arrived home that night, he sat down and calculated the distance he'd traveled versus his car's gas mileage. And he discovered that he should have run out of gas many miles before reaching the spot where he found Pam. It's just one more mystery in this incredible story, one that Steve can only describe as a miracle. Every year in this country, early detection of breast cancer saves the lives of thousands of women. Unfortunately, in some cases, the warning signs are ignored until it's too late. The woman in our next story didn't understand how serious the warning signs were until she received one that she couldn't explain and that she couldn't ignore. I think there's an important lesson here for everyone watching. We can all be guardian angels if we keep reminding ourselves and the women we know and love to get annual checkups and to perform breast self-exams on a regular basis. Science and medicine can work miracles, but only if we pay attention to the warning signs. We'll be right back. Hello, and welcome to It's a Miracle. I'm Nia P.
And I'm Richard Thomas. Tonight we have another show filled with stories of unexplainable events, mysterious circumstances, and people helping people.
Courage and valor are qualities that define the professional firefighter. But sometimes circumstances occur that can raise those qualities to the level of the miraculous. That's what happens in our next story when a fireman's personal tragedy provides the extra motivation for personal triumph. The little girl was rushed to a local hospital, and several days later, she celebrated her 7th birthday while in intensive care. Today, she's well on the road to recovery, and Tim and Kimber plan to keep in close contact with her. We'll be right back. One of the definitions of a miracle is to achieve the impossible, to overcome incredible odds in order to succeed. We presented many of these stories on It's a Miracle, and they're always an inspiration. Perhaps none more so than the amazing story of Chris Wallace and his mother, Rita. We hope you'll join us next time. Until then, I'm Nia P.
And I'm Richard Thomas. Good night.
Hello, and welcome to It's a Miracle. I'm Nia P.
And I'm Richard Thomas. The reaction of people who've experienced a miracle in their lives seems to be universal. They're all extremely thankful.
And this feeling of gratitude is particularly appropriate during the Thanksgiving holiday. It's a time for being grateful for the many blessings that life has given us.
And it's also a time to share our good fortune with people less fortunate than ourselves.
That's what happens in our first story, when a young mother receives a very special Thanksgiving gift, only to discover that the woman who gave it to her was not everything she appeared to be. Imagine that you've just prepared Thanksgiving dinner for 10 people, and suddenly 20 show up. Well, actually, that might not be a big problem, considering the amount of food that's left over after a typical Thanksgiving meal. But what would you do if 100 people showed up? Or 1,000? And what if they all had big appetites? Well, here's one solution. Stay with us for more fascinating stories on It's a Miracle.
Of course, everyone would like to experience a miracle in their lives, but even without one, there's still so much to be thankful for.
And we hope that you'll remember that during this holiday season.